Hello and welcome to the KmtcMinds page. First of all, I'll give a moment of silence for anyone who's lost someone. I just want to ask that you be with their family and stay strong during these pressing times. So we're going to get into some words today. I want to talk about ignorance today. As one of the catalysts for making this video is just I'm seeing a trend of things on the internet that are encouraging people to be ignorant, such as this term that's been proliferating through social media called woke. So, what does ignore mean? Right? When we ignore things, I know some people ignore things because they want to seek comfort, right? And I want to play this video as to what I want to, what I'm mentioning here. They're seeking comfort. Again, nothing wrong with seeking comfort, but that could be, that could be an earthquake alert. So, ignore. 1610s, not to know, to be ignorant of. From the French, ignorer, be unaware of. So in the 1610s, not to know, to be ignorant of. From French, ignorer, be unaware of, 14th century, or directly from the Latin, ignorari, not to know, be unacquainted, take no notice of, disregard, or see ignorant. The original sense in English is obsolete. The original sense in English is obsolete. Sense of pass over without notice, pay no attention to. In English, first recorded 1801, Barnhart says probably a dictionary word, and OED indicates it was uncommon before the 1850 century. So ignorant. What is ignorant? So lacking wisdom or knowledge, unaware. From Latin ignorantium, not knowing, ignorant. Right? So not to know, to be unacquainted, mistake, misunderstand, take no notice of, pay no attention to. Right? So again, it's a form of ignorance, not having knowledge. Right? You're lacking in wisdom. Now, avoid. So avoid is to shun someone, refrain from something, have nothing to do with, escape, or evade. From Anglo-French avoider, to clear out, withdraw oneself. So to empty out is to avoid. Now, a void is unoccupied, vacant, without contents, empty. Right? Empty, vast, wide, hollow, waste, uncultivated, follow. So the key word I find interesting is uncultivated. What does cultivating mean? Right? How do you cultivate? Usually you're taking care of something, right? You're cultivating. Well, let's see what that definition is. So to cultivate is to till, right? You're taking care of or preparing for crops, raise or produce by tillage. That's cultivate. You're cultivating it. Usually having something to do with a garden. When you're doing these things, you're cultivating. When you're not being ignorant, the opposite of that polarity would mean that you're cultivating the garden of knowledge and consciousness. Okay, even if what you're cultivating can be bad news, okay, you're staying woke. What does woke mean, right? That's like a kind of like a it's a slang term. It's kind of not traditional. It's more recent modern history type word phrase that we use as the language moves on. But become awake when you're awake. Become awaken, arise, to be born, right? Originate. That's an interesting word. Originate, right? Be or remain awake. Proto-Germanic wakajanin, from pi root weg, to be strong, be lively, awake, or to be awake, to be aware and alive. Now, the opposite of that would be to be or fall asleep. When you're asleep, lie or remain dormant or inactive. The key word I like, dormant. You know, you're in a stasis. A stasis. Okay. We can even look at stasis. What, you don't want to be in a sleep, which is being in a stasis, a static, a stoppage of circulation, a standing still, a posture of standing, a position. So no movement, right? A lack of movement, a point of compass, position, state of condition of anything, a party, company, or a sect, right? Placed, caused to stand. So immobility, stagnation, right? By 1920, it was used for as immobility and stagnation. So again, we don't want us to be in a stasis, so we have to stay awake to avoid stasis. Being awake, being woke, is to arise, which is a forward movement. When you usually rise in the morning, you have to move forward and up to arise. So you are rising your consciousness as you awake from your sleep stasis. Okay. So we got to marinate on that for a second, right? And so many people are anti-woke, right? And when they're anti-woke, so they want you to be in a state of stasis. It's what they do with the hip hop industry, right? They put some of this music out here is so destructive. And again, with music, we're dealing with vibration. Human beings are vibratory beings. That's why the satanic influences over the fashion industry, like I highlighted yesterday, and the music industry, right, wants you to be in that low vibratory, demonic state of being. The witches and warlocks in that field, in that sector, right, want you to be in a state of stasis. They don't want you to be awake. So they put this low vibratory music that has you with thinking dangerous thoughts of hurting other people. In some cases, especially the music that's promoted to the black community, and what's cool in the to the younger crowd. Is to tote a gun and to be hard and all this other stuff, right? So back to my point, right? We don't want to ignore the news. Okay, that's a form. Ignore is the root word of ignorant, right? When I say I'm protecting my peace, now what is peace? Some people say they're protecting their peace by avoiding the bad news. So what is peace? A freedom from civil disorder, internal peace of a nation. Peace, reconciliation, silence, permission, absence of war, right? So you're trying to avoid any kind of, anything that will mess up your tranquility, right? And with the pi root, pag is to fasten, right? So you're fastening yourself into happiness, right? To ignore all of these things, right? So you want peace. Okay, and we can look at that in numerology, that word peace. Okay. Okay, it's interesting with this numerology. Of course, Saturn also equals 21, and that's in the field of the dark magic people that run the show. Saturn, the keeper of time, and 21 is a odd and even number. So while you may want peace, again, on the opposite polarity, you have people in the physical realm that are focused on reversing peace, right? Giving us the opposite of peace. They deal with rituals to keep people in a state of fear, right? State of fear. Interestingly enough, fear is also sums to 21, just like I mentioned, right? That's what I said. God gave me this intuition to do this stuff. That was live in real time. I just gave you a word that matched 21, just like peace, right? So again, you can seek peace, but there are those who are operating on the opposite side of that same vibration of 21, right? These people deal with dark magic rituals while you're seeking your peace, right? So we have to be aware of our environment right now. And again, it would be one thing if we the entities that exist that are creating chaos at this moment. What is chaos? Gaping void, empty, immeasurable space, right? Abyss, that which gapes wide open, that which is vast and empty. Void, I go back to that word void, empty. It's to leave you empty, right? Utter confusion. So it is intended since from theological use of chaos in Vulgate version of Genesis for the void at the beginning of creation, the confused, formless, elementary state of the universe. The Greek for disorder was tarche, but the use of chaos here was rooted in Hesiod, who describes chaos as the primeval emptiness of the universe, and in Ovoid, who opposes chaos to cosmos, the order of the universe. Sometimes it was personified as God, begetter of Erebus, and Nyx, night, meaning orderless confusion in human affairs, is from the 1600s. Chaos theory in the modern mathematical sense is attested from 1977. Chaotic is in a state of primordial chaos, irregularly formed in English from chaos, right? So again, these people operate off of chaos. I say all of this to come to my point is that we're having a lot going on in America today. And it's not, you cannot look at it through a lens of your personal feelings and opinions. We are not in normal times anymore, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm speaking primarily to those who love to avoid chaos and don't want to hear any bad news. I'm going to be the bearer of bad news. When you have a system in America in which you have a power structure that is designed to sabotage true justice, righteousness, and ma'at, and it's out of balance with ma'at and doesn't care about the people that it's supposed to help, you have a problem. Everything is an independent investigation at this point when it comes to the black community, so-called black community. Everything's an investigation. We don't know if this was some quote unquote what people are calling YNs, or it was a calculated plot. We're in a different time, and the power structure has changed in this country. And they have closed civil rights divisions that are responsible for holding people accountable. They're removing the checks and balances, all the while claiming that they want to allow the states to decide things. And anybody who's done any amount of research know that places like Mississippi, where it looks like about 6 shootings took place, all right, had a different constitution. I think 2 constitutions. And I think 2013 or so finally certified to end that slavery was over with. Because again, just like I brought out in those examples, we're trying to avoid chaos, and consciousness is one way to do it. So stay aware, stay awake, and again, continue to have a great week.